Of all the videos I've ever made, this is the one that I'm most likely to get sued into bankruptcy over, so please just hear me out and make it worth my while. I want to speak to every single Australian right now that is considering voting for One Nation. I'm not here to call you racist or stupid or even judge you for finding resonance in Pauline Hanson. I do genuinely understand why Australians are sick of hearing these media-trained politicians that never even answer a question directly, let alone honestly. Wealth inequality in Australia is growing, and there doesn't seem to be a viable plan on how to bring us back to an Australia that was once one of the most egalitarian nations on earth. I understand why One Nation might seem like, worth a shot, right? How much worse could they be? But the issue isn't the promises that One Nation are making to you. The issue is that most Australians don't really understand much about the woman who now controls the party. And that's because the media is pretty reticent to talk about it. The reason behind that isn't necessarily because of some kind of nefarious complicity. Several outlets do take her on, but it's a genuinely dangerous topic to report on. Multiple news outlets and journalists have been sued by Gina Rinehart. She even sued her own children. And that's just the lawsuits you've heard about. If this video just disappears, it's safe to assume I just got served with a statement of claim where the richest person in the country has threatened to take my home if I don't remove it. And let's be honest, I probably won't have any other choice to do that because the way that Australia's defamation laws, it's pretty much impossible to stand up to someone like Gina Rinehart unless you're a major media organisation with your own legal team. So while I do hope that the fact that I'm just a nobody with no platform beyond a Facebook page might make me irrelevant enough for her to just ignore me, let me get ahead of this by saying everything I'm about to say is my opinion. So please do your own research and please fact check everything I say. I openly encourage you.
A meeting between the country's richest person and One Nation leader Pauline Hanson is raising eyebrows this morning.
So, why does Gina Rinehart matter? Well, most of you feel pretty confident that you know what you're getting with Pauline Hanson because she's been around for decades, right? And she's maintained a fairly consistent policy line around immigration. She doesn't like it.
I and most Australians want our immigration policy radically reviewed and that of multiculturalism abolished.
Yeah.
I believe we are in danger of being swamped by Asians.
But if you're wondering why this lady who has featured in the public consciousness for decades has only just now become this unstoppable political machine, you have to understand the role of Gina Rinehart. So let's start with who she is. Rinehart is the daughter of Lang Hancock, a Western Australian mining magnate, perhaps best known for his progressive views on Indigenous Australians.
Those that have been assimilated into earning good living or earning wages amongst the civilised areas, that have been accepted into society and they have accepted society and can handle society, I'd leave them well alone. The ones that are no good to themselves, who can't accept things, the half-caste, and this is where most of the trouble comes, I would dope the water up so that they were sterile and would breed themselves out in the future, and that would solve the problem.
Now, that was obviously Rinehart's father's comments, not hers, and I can't find any record of her endorsing it. But it is worth noting that when Indigenous netballer Donald Wallam objected to wearing the Hancock prospecting branding on her Australian uniform, literally the name of a guy who called for the genocide of her race, Wallam requested that Rinehart at least denounce her father's comments. Instead, Rinehart pulled her sponsorship of the Australian netball team, making Wallam a target for an ungodly avalanche of online hatred. Now, after her father died, Rinehart became embroiled in a series of intense legal battles with other family members, including her own children. The complete context of the insane family feud remains shrouded in secrecy, with many of the eventual settlements concealed by non-disclosure agreements. It's a story that feels like it would make a great Netflix series, right? Well, in fact, in 2015, Channel 9 actually made a mini-series on how Rinehart managed to win the succession battle for Hancock's fortune. But before it went to air, her lawyers launched legal action to gain access to the script, resulting in several key scenes being removed due to their defamatory nature. And if you're thinking to yourself, that looks interesting, maybe I'll make that my next watch. Good luck finding it, because even after the heavily edited limited series went to air, Rinehart's lawyers continued their legal action against Channel 9 until they offered a formal apology to Rinehart and agreed not to release the series on DVD, sell it overseas, or distribute it to streaming services. So we don't really know the full story of how Rinehart took control of her father's mining company and built it into the fortune that she controls today. But we do know exactly how she has spent it to influence politics. I'm just joking. Of course, we don't. Australia's political donation regulations are intentionally opaque, even today. Because of the way they structure their donations from multiple sources or obfuscated by hosting fundraisers, we simply don't know who funds our political parties. But suffice to say, if you want to win an election as a Conservative politician in Australia, you better be prepared to kiss the ring. We do know that she is one of the largest single donors to the Conservative think tank, the IPA, or the Institute of Public Affairs. But they don't disclose their donors, so we're forced to do a lot of guesswork. The last figure that we do have is from a decade ago, and back then she donated $4.5 million to this organisation that exists exclusively to create reports or studies that promote right-wing talking points that the media then report on as though it was some kind of revelation of truth. We also know that she donated around $1 million to the right-wing social media group Advance just in the 2025 financial year. Safe to say that figure has likely gone up a bit over the past 12 months. This is an unapologetically pro-Trump group backed by a cabal of shady millionaires and trusts to advance MAGA-style politics in Australia. If you want an idea of the kind of political system they want to create in this country, here they are celebrating the birthday of the most corrupt politician in Australian history, a man who gerrymandered Queensland to maintain authoritarian control over his state, used the police to intimidate and harass his political opponents, and then turned governing into a bribe-making bonanza. The Fitzgerald inquiry into his government uncovered widespread police and political corruption, leading to the jailing of the police commissioner and several ministers. The only reason Joe Bjelke-Petersen himself didn't end up in prison was because of a single jury member who was later found to be a member of a right-wing organisation that supported Bjelke-Petersen, who refused to convict him, resulting in a hung jury. Now remember, this is the group that functions to promote Reinhardt's vision for the country. And if you look at their social media feed, it's pretty clear that they have a soft spot for corrupt politicians. Which brings us to Gina's unparalleled devotion for one Donald Trump.
Your biggest celebrity in Australia is with me at my table. Gina Reinhardt is here, and she looks phenomenal in her Western Australian hat. And she is really, I would say, Gina is to Australia what President Trump is to America.
This isn't some passing comment of support or sympathy for some of his policies. Reinhardt is one of the Mar-a-Lago inner circle elite. She's even a member of an all-female high society fan club for Donald Trump called the Trumpettes. That's their founder there, by the way. Now, after Trump won the 2024 election, she bought out a full-page ad in the Wall Street Journal simply to praise him on behalf of Australia. She lauded Trump as the dedicated, strong, decisive, brave, and unapologetic leader America desperately needs. His impact will be felt around the world. Now, maybe it's because of his anti-immigration policies, right? Although Reinhardt hasn't always had an issue with immigration in certain circumstances. Or maybe she loves Trump for the same reason that every other billionaire oligarch does, because he has made them all richer. Since Trump first came to power, her wealth has tripled. Could be a coincidence. While Trump's impact on the global economy isn't great for you and me, it has been pretty fruitful for the billionaire class. You see, where Trump and Gina Reinhardt align is this core belief in trickle-down economics, a belief that cutting the taxes of the wealthy, cutting spending on social services for poorer people, and cutting regulations that limit corporate profits is the key to their prosperity. Sorry, a nation's prosperity and their prosperity. She argued that Australia needed to cut the minimum wage in order to compete with Africans who were willing to work for less than $2 a day. She argued that Australians that were jealous about her wealth, which she inherited, should, and I quote, do something to make more money themselves, like spend less time drinking or smoking and socialising and more time working. Why didn't I think of that? Yeah. None of this is a secret, by the way. She's quite upfront about it. She wants to bring Musk's Doge to Australia. She wants to gut the public sector and wants to create a special tax-free economic zone in Northern Australia, which, of course, just happens to be where all her mines are. So, what does this have to do with One Nation? Well, after the Peter Dutton-led election wipeout, in part because Australian voters feared he was too Trumpy, Reinhardt published press releases essentially claiming that Australian voters didn't know what was good for them and demanding that the coalition ignore the media and move even closer to Trump. The Liberal Party failed to heed her advice and elected instead a moderate leader. So Reinhardt took her money and bought herself a new party. She flew Hanson to Mar-a-Lago to meet Donald Trump.
President Trump and I have a lot in common in many ways. I actually was imprisoned for my political views, wrongfully imprisoned with a 3-year jail term. They were after Donald Trump as well. But they never got him in prison, which I'm so grateful it never happened to a great man as Donald Trump.
Since then, for reasons we're yet to fully understand, One Nation's primary vote has more than tripled. Now, it could be a coincidence, could just be a groundswell of organic support in social media. We don't know exactly what Reinhardt is doing to support Hanson, but we do know that she is not one to spend money without expecting a return on her investment. So, what could have Pauline offered her in return for power? Well, probably anything. This is a woman and a political party that offered to sell out Australia's gun laws in return for funding from the NRA. Now, just watch this video and listen carefully. This was a conversation between One Nation Chief of Staff James Ashby and One Nation Senator Steve Dixon meeting with representatives of the Koch brothers in 2019. These are the billionaires who bankrolled Trump's 2016 election campaign, and this was secretly recorded by Al Jazeera.
We're turning socialist.
Well, we are too. I mean, and when you look at the data on young people and how they perceive socialism,
That's frightening.
it's terrifying.
Yeah.
That's one of the reasons I wanted to sit down. I want to have this conversation, learn more about kind of what was going on, because
This change, this lefty attitude that, just thinks solar and they're going to change the world for the better, it's sending us all broke.
what you do in Australia has a huge impact.
Yeah. What you can do to help us, and it's going to get down to money at the end of the day, as James started to touch on. We can change the voting system in our country, the way people operate. We've got the money to do it. We have the people. We've got the momentum. We've got Senator Pauline Hanson. She's the most recognised person, not only in politics, but as a person in our country. So the ingredients are there. We just don't have the petrol to put it in.
James Ashby is still the Chief of Staff for One Nation. So let me be direct. Any Australian political party who supports Donald Trump is a threat to our democracy. That really isn't a controversial take. The guy has sold out his country to the highest bidders. Can we please just not do the same here? So look, honestly, if you're against further immigration, fine. I don't fully agree with you, but that doesn't make you a bad person. But if you choose to empower Hanson, you need to know that you are voting for an Australia that will look like Trump's America. It will be a government that believes in conspiracy theories, is anti-science, and is seriously underqualified to govern. It will be a government that will almost certainly be corrupt and follows Trump wherever he goes. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for, but please, vote for literally anyone else. Our democracy is simply far too sacred to sell off.